All right, everybody, welcome back to the Great Jimbabwe Plays Slay the Spire, the One Last Ride playthrough. Couple things from the last episode. I had mentioned at the beginning I didn't remember how you add cards to the compendium. Well, it turns out that is experience-based, and I cut off the video a little short of seeing the card unlocks, but we did unlock a couple of cards for the Ironclad there in our first victory. So we're off to a good start. The one other thing that we missed there is when you win as the Ironclad, you get a little animation showing the Ironclad emblem lighting up on the red key. Um, so hopefully we'll get to see one of those animations pop up for one of our other characters in the near future. But for now, let's go ahead and hit play and we'll launch into our next run. Like I said, we did get a win on the Ironclad last time. Looks like Ascension mode is unlocked. This is kind of our first decision point, I think, as far as how we want to do this playthrough. Do we want to run Ironclad all the way to the top? Or do we try to do a little bit of variety and play one character per level every time we do a playthrough? I think for this start, we're going to cycle through characters a little bit. Let's unlock some of the other characters. Let's get Ascension mode unlocked for everybody. And then maybe we can mix it up a little bit after that. But let's take a click over to the Silent. No Ascension mode unlocked yet. One of the other kind of starting two characters. Let's go ahead and embark on our quest to slay the Spire again. So we're back at the bottom of floor 1, bottom of the tower. Let's go ahead and see what Niao is going to offer up here. So we have our max HP plus 7, or enemies in our combats, first 3 combats have 1 HP. Pretty similar to our last offering. I think the Ironclad had a touch more offered in terms of max HP. But let's take a look at the map before we make a decision here. Let's see. Kind of glancing at it, if you watched the last video, you know I do like to look for opportunities to snipe the elites, even if it's not the perfect way to play the game. I do see a very outside chance at a snipe, I think, if we start at this bottom right node. Let's see. Kind of work our way up this way. Almost certainly not going to happen, but we're gonna try it anyway on low Ascension mode. Let's see if we can get another snipe. We have Niao's Lament. Let's start at the bottom right. So Silent gets a little bit more draw at the beginning of each encounter. So you'll notice we have more than 5 cards in the Silent's hand. First fight should be pretty straightforward here. But yeah, generally speaking, as the Silent, we get a fairy in a bottle early, always a good thing. Kind of treat that as a reason to be a little more aggressive. But yeah, compared to the Ironclad, I would say the Silent definitely does less overall direct damage. There's definitely more creative ways to do damage, though. And hopefully we'll see a couple of those here. So we get 3 good offers here. I'm very much pro adding damage early with the Silent. You know, that might be in the way of some poison. But in this case, we have 3 attacks. Let's see. Finisher. Each attack played this turn synergizes nicely with cards that allow you to play lots of attacks. So that's traditionally the Shiv build. Not that there's any particular way to play a character. You don't have to build into a certain thing. That things definitely mix together. Flying Knee, kind of some nice moderate damage and a little bit of a deferred energy. And then Sneaky Strike, which works with discard. I think all of these are pretty good. I would say Finisher this early is more of a speculation pick, so probably going to lay off Finisher for now. I'm feeling the Sneaky Strike, especially considering one of our starting cards does have a discard keyword. Let's start there. All right, the world of goop. You fall into a puddle. It's made of slime goop. Frantically, you claw yourself out over several minutes as you feel the goop starting to burn. You can feel goop in your ears, goop in your nose, goop everywhere. Climbing out, you notice that some of your gold is missing. Looking back at the puddle, you see your missing coins combined with gold from unfortunate adventurers mixed together in the puddle. Do we want to gather that gold and gain 75 gold at the cost of some HP? Or we can leave it behind and lose 43 gold that we came here with. Tough one. I think that this could very much depend on how much HP you have when you enter the event. I think early on, especially with Fairy in a bottle, a little extra gold the cost of some HP is okay. Definitely more of a thinker's decision on the Silent versus the Ironclad, you know, when you have the opportunity to get that HP back after fights a little bit more takeable. But we'll go ahead and take it. Feeling the sting of the goop as the prolonged exposure starts to melt away at your skin, you manage to fish out the gold. And now that we have that gold, no harm in checking out a shop. Let's see here. One thing to note for newcomers to Slay the Spire, if you haven't played before, the top right card of the shop is always a power. You always have the option to remove cards from your deck at an increasing cost every time you do it. You can only do it once per visit, so future shops will be 25 gold more expensive. There are some relics that impact the cost of card removal and the cost of items in the shop. The bottom two cards here will always be a colorless duo. But let's see. Orrery, upon pickup, choosing 5 cards to your deck. Important note, you do not have to add all 5. You can observe them and then decide if you want them or not. Strawberry for some max HP, and it's too bad we can't afford the Toxic Egg. Early Toxic Egg, very strong on the Silent in particular. But adding a skill into your deck, it comes upgraded. Very strong. Let's see. I think Orrery is definitely takeable early on. We can kind of give ourselves a little bit of direction of where we want to go with our deck. There's 5 options here. I tend to look at them all first prior to selecting anything. So we have another Sneaky Strike. Maybe if we see some discard in here, that's something we want to take a look at. Unload, discard all non-attack cards, definitely something worth considering with our discard synergies. 1,000 Cuts. We got a gold card here. Whenever you play a card, deal 1 damage to all enemies. Blur, also strong. Block is not removed at the start of your next turn. Acrobatics, some card draw and discard. Let's see. We have Deadly Poison, just some straight poison. Heal Hook combines with Weakness, which we don't have too much of yet. We have 1 card that applies Weak. Dodge and Roll. Get some block this turn, get some block next turn. One thing I've definitely noticed playing through on Steam versus console is the text of the card seems to overlay a little bit off the sides, like the borders. That may be a user error or something I'll take a look at maybe in the Slay the Spire settings before our next run. But for now, definitely not game-breaking, but never noticed that before. Let's see. Some delayed energy with Outmaneuver. We have some AoE damage with Dagger Spray, probably something we want to consider. And then Poison Stab, some damage and some poison. I definitely have a tendency to think Dagger Spray is a pretty good card. I'm not sure that everyone would agree with that. I think the upgrade in particular is pretty strong. I think the upgrade, even against 1 enemy, is significantly better than a strike. So to me, it's pretty playable early on. Let's just make sure we didn't skip any here. I think we're good. I think we will definitely take our discard synergies. So let's take Acrobatics. Let's take Sneaky Strike. I think Unload is a good fit for that that motif. I'm tempted to skip these 3. Dodge and Roll is in play for me. Let's think about that for a second. I think I will take Dagger Spray. And with all those attacks, we'll take a Dodge and Roll. Maybe we'll find a way to get a little bit of dexterity. And the Silent does have a few ways to get dexterity, which adds block. We could take Infinite Blades. I think we'll leave that one in the shop. Okay. Let's push forward. We still, there's still potential to snipe an elite here. We will burn one of our Niao's Lament charges on this fight, but that's okay. I feel like we've upgraded the power of our deck pretty significantly. Speed Potion, also good. Works with our dodge and roll that we just took. Let's see. Free Attack works pretty well with our card draw. I think Outmaneuver is terrible. I don't take it pretty much in any situation. I guess if you have some very high cost cards and no energy relics, that might be something worth considering, but I can't think of any build where I'm really happy I saw Outmaneuver. Backflip, on the other hand, I think Draw 2 is pretty good. That's another one that's still useful late in the game. I think we'll take Slice, a little bit of free damage, high card draw at the beginning of turn 1, plus the potential to get Acrobatics gives us some more free damage there. We'll give that a shot. So we're at another event. We still managed to keep Niao's Lament alive. And as you walk into the Scrap Ooze, you walk into the room, you hear a gurgling and grinding of metals. Before you is a slime-like creature that ate too much scrap for its own good. From the center of the creature, you see glints of strange light, perhaps something magical? It looks like you can get some treasure if you just reach inside its opening. However, the acid and sharp objects may hurt. We can reach inside with the chance at a relic, or we can leave this behind. Very interesting event. I will tell you, early in my Slay the Spire days, I would have unquestionably gone for the relic. I've come to think that this is not as strong of an event as I originally thought. I tend to leave this one behind, especially when I'm not playing the Ironclad. But that said, early Ascension, we have the fairy in a bottle and a good amount of HP, and I kind of want to know what that relic is. We do have a couple of campfires coming up, no matter what happens in that question mark up here. I think we're going to go ahead and go hard on this. Let's see if we can get that relic. Take a little bit of damage, a bit of burning pain, but I'm still convinced there's a relic. Okay. At the cost of, what was that, 6 or 7 HP? I think 7 HP, we got Maw Bank. Whenever you climb a floor, gain 12 gold. It does not work anymore after you spend any gold at a shop. Probably one of the weaker relics. But hey, a little bit of extra gold. Not going to say no to that. It doesn't impact our combats at all. I think we have enough HP that I'm willing to smith. I don't remember all of the silence upgrades, so stick with me here for a second, everyone. Dodge and roll jumps out at me as a potential target. 2 extra block at each of those turns. Some more raw damage. 18 damage for 1 energy is definitely nothing to sneeze at, especially with the discard synergy. As I said before, I think Dagger Spray is always a pretty good upgrade. A little more card draw. 2 week over 1 week is definitely another strong upgrade. Let's see who our boss is. Oh, I should be checking that. We do have the Hexaghost. Weak, pretty good against the Hexaghost. I think that's enough of a reason for me to upgrade Neutralize. It's a card that, you're always going to play it. And it works well in so many fights. So let's take Neutralize, especially since we spent some HP on some of these other events. Okay. We're going to try one more question mark. We got a shop. Keep in mind, if we spend our gold here, even on a card removal, Maw Bank will break. But let's take a look. Gambling Chip. Definitely one of the best cards, or the best relics for the Silent. Not only do you have a much higher chance of getting the cards that you want on turn 1, but the discard synergy is just insane on Gambling Chip with the Silence. So if you get some relics that synergize with discard, it goes even harder. Unfortunately, we don't have that, but I do see a couple other things in here that might strike our fancy. Calculated Gamble, discard your hand, draw that many cards, seems pretty good for us. I also think Gain Dexterity goes pretty nicely with our dodge and roll. Something I think it's worth breaking Maw Bank here. The question is, what are we going to go for? Look at our deck. with 2 sneaky strikes in acrobatics. Calculated gamble is very strong. We upgrade that, it also stays in our deck, no more exhausting. I think we're going to take calculated gamble. Does mean no more mob bank for us, so maybe we'll be on the hunt for some more powerful relics here. But let's proceed. Yeah, I was kind of debating if we're going to play all of the characters kind of start to finish. If we're going to take them, you know, as non-Ascension all the way to Ascension 20. I guess now that I look at it, if you can't fight the heart after your Ascension 20 run, I'd rather wait till we can at least do that. So we'll play at least the non-Ascension mode for as many characters as possible. I kind of forget how you unlock Defect and Watcher. I'm assuming it's just winning as Ironclad and Silent. But we'll see. We will play through, and whatever happens, happens there. I actually haven't noticed any cards missing from the pools so far. Nothing jumping out at me is typically available that's not, but I'm sure we'll notice a few of those as we unlock them at the end. We'll unlock or upgrade Calculated Gamble. Pretty strong upgrade. Keep that in our deck. We have the opportunity to get a relic here. Looking at our pathing, I think we'll be going to this treasure chest, getting a campfire, and then getting the elite. That's a pretty good looking path to me. Then we have 2 more campfires after that. Let's go that way. Mercury Hourglass. At the start of your turn, deal 3 damage to all enemies. A little AoE damage for free. Definitely happy to have that. I think it's one of the above the bell curve in terms of relic power, I think. Particularly for the Silent, who maybe needs a little damage help from time to time. Let's see. I know Dagger Spray. Controversial take here. I know I said it before, but I really like Dagger Spray. I think 12 damage to all enemies is pretty good, especially for a common card. And the upgrade, I mean, 2 more damage to all enemies for both, you know, both throws. I like it. I think it's good. Quite a few AoE enemies coming on the 2nd floor. You know, there's a couple of AoE, you know, friendly fights on this floor. Let's see. The Gremlin Knob, dead to the Mercury Hourglass, and we get a trophy, win a combat without playing an attack. Didn't even consider that Mercury Hourglass would pop before doing anything. So kind of lucked into that one, but I'm not complaining. That was probably one that took me a long time to do in my original playthrough. Pick our gold. Unceasing Tide. Whenever you have no cards in your hand during your turn, draw a card. Always great, particularly great on the Silent. We're not really going for infinite card draw here, but I do think Unceasing Tide tends to be really, really powerful with the Silent and also with the Watcher. Let's take that. All of these are good. We've seen Footwork and the Heel Hook already. I think Deflect, find some free block with card draw. It's pretty good. You know, it's free block when you have a lot of card draw. I think the Dexterity, you know, we did ask for it earlier, and I think it synergizes pretty well with a couple other cards we have, so let's go with that. We'll look in the shop. Never a downside looking in the shop. If you see something in there, it doesn't matter if you looked or not. It won't appear again in future shops. We actually can afford Dagger Throw. And I'll tell you what, with a draw and a discard, I don't think that's so bad. Shame we can't afford Alchemize. I think, you know, Alchemize is one of my personal favorite Silent cards. Definitely would put that in the upper tiers of any tier list. Maybe not the absolute best in the Silent pool, but it's up there. I like Noxious Fumes. I feel like everyone kind of sees Noxious Fumes as a guaranteed win condition at some point in any fight. I found that to be a little bit low on the poison, you know, as I've started to play a little bit more. Sometimes stripping Artifact can be helpful, though. Let's take Dagger Throw. We've spent a lot of gold here. I think the gold interactions in Slay the Spire really make the game more fun. There's a lot of ways you can really get a lot of gold in some of the later events in particular. So maybe we'll run into a couple of those in some of our early runs. Let's Smith again. I think 52 HP is plenty. Let's see. 18 damage for 1 is pretty strong. So that's 4 damage every time we play that card. I think Dodge and Roll upgrade That means we get 6 block for 2 turns. With dexterity, that could be as high as 8 block over 2 turns on each turn. I think a little defense against the Hexaghost never goes wrong. Let's upgrade that dodge and roll. We do have the dexterity potion if we ever get into a sticky situation, but we're looking okay. All right, we got some damage incoming from the jaw worm. Let's see. This feels like a defend. Maybe try to draw for another defend or one of our free cards, which we have several of. I think this is where neutralize comes in handy. Let's just punch it through with some damage. I don't think that the dexterity is going to pay huge dividends in this fight. We're already a good chunk of the way there. Mercury Hourglass popping again. Always get a little tongue twisted on that one. I think we play Survivor, get a free Sneaky Strike. And we hit with our free Slice, and then next turn we should have a pretty good shot against the Jawworm. You know, I play quite a few single-player games. I kind of mentioned in the last video that I've been looking for kind of offbeat, quirkier games to play on my own. Got a couple of kids at home, so being able to pause is definitely a feature that's helpful. And while we're on the topic of things that are helpful, Adrenaline, I think, is in the conversation one of the best cards in the game. Quick slash prepared are fine. Gotta take Adrenaline. But I do play quite a bit of multiplayer with my buddies and some of my friends. I think, you know, over the years, we've maybe scaled back a little bit, but we definitely caught the Overwatch bug. We still play Overwatch 2 to this day. I would say as time has gone on, I've gotten a little bit worse at Overwatch. I used to be at least semi-competitive in the console pool. I was, I think, in Overwatch 1 back in the previous version of competitive score, I guess, was it ranked points in Overwatch? I was 2 points off of Grandmaster, 39.98, playing mostly Reinhardt and Zarya. But probably hovering closer to high diamond and then maybe low to mid masters on occasion, depending on what the meta is these days. But still a fun game. Enjoying the stadium mode. I think it's an interesting little wrinkle. Definitely different. Let's see. I don't think neutralize turn 1 against Hexaghost is always good. But yeah, the other one that we really used to play a lot, but this one really fell off in popularity on the multiplayer front, at least. But Uncharted 4, underrated multiplayer, I would say. My buddy and I used to play pretty regularly, and we were pretty high on that leaderboard for a while. I think he might have been as high as like 40, like out of however many people were playing that game. I was maybe in like the 400 range, but yeah, that command and deathmatch in Uncharted 4, definitely a cool, kind of interesting third-person multiplayer game. I don't think you see enough of that. I think, you know, maybe we'll see a little bit of a resurgence. I guess Stadium kind of does that in Overwatch now. Getting a little distracted here. I'm trying to decide what we're looking for in our hand. I guess we could get Adrenaline. A little risky if we calculated gamble here. I think we're just gonna hit, and then we'll save the potential for sneaky strike on a future turn. I have not forgotten about our potions up here. The liquid bronze getting hit 6 times. I don't think there's too many situations that are going to be better for liquid bronze than that. The birds do come to mind on floor 2, so you know there's some motivation to hold it. I think we're going to play it. We'll take a little damage here, but we will block as much as we can. But yeah, I'm telling you, Uncharted 4 multiplayer. Might be too late to give it a look, but there's not enough of a player pool anymore. But I thought the in-game shop was kind of an interesting idea. Wow, no discard for us. That's unfortunate. I guess we should have known that, though, considering there's no more cards in our draw pile. Yep, footwork out there. But yeah, like being able to pull up the shop, buy new things, upgrade throughout the round, definitely an interesting idea. A little bit unusual. So who knows? Maybe Naughty Dog will do something with a little bit of a multiplayer mode in the future. I know they talked about it with Last of Us Part 2, but it didn't really pan out that way. We've been known to go back and try a few other kind of co-op games from time to time. I think Back for Blood was one that didn't quite hit for us. It didn't register in my head that I was going to lose my whole hand there. I don't know why. But we're okay. No damage here. We'll throw a couple strikes out there and end our turn. Yeah, Back for Blood, we've actually been experimenting with Castle Crashers, kind of an oldie but a goodie. Discard this burn. Burns a status from the Hexaghost that damages you at the end of your turn, so don't want that. The sneaky strike. But yeah, Castle Crashers, an oldie but goodie. Kind of your classic arcade. I'll call it a beat 'em up, but it's fun stuff. If you haven't tried that, definitely a good one. What are we doing here? Looking pretty good. Been halfway down, haven't really taken too much damage, have our spikes out there. I think we're on the right track. We haven't seen much in the way of poison offered to us. I find the poison build pretty fun. Let's draw 3 and see if we get something worth playing here. Not going to do Dagger Throw. Don't want to lose our Sneaky Strike. But, yeah, I think the poison build tends to be fun. I think you get a little Noxious Fumes. I actually think even Deadly Poison is fine earlier in the game. And then there's some like nice synergies you can get with that, especially in the relics. The one thing with the Silent from time to time is the relics can be very specific. And if you don't have a synergy, there's sometimes some dead gets there. That said, there's also a couple of cards in the Silence pool that I think are tremendously great no matter what you have. Too bad we drew a burn there. We'll take a little bit of damage because of that, but means we won't draw it next turn. Let's see. Tough one. Trying to do the calculation in my head here. So if we discard all non-attacks, we're going to lose our defense. But then if we play a defend, we can't play Sneaky Strike. The catch-22, guys. The catch-22. I think we take no damage. Yeah, we'll take no damage. We're doing fine. Although we are getting close to the wraparound of the Hexaghost, so we didn't do damage quite as expeditiously as I would have liked. But I think right now we're probably okay. We can hit a Survivor. We can drop Dagger Spray. Sorry if my math was bad there, but we'll do plenty of damage with the spikes from our potion. 27 HP. We should have no issues punching through the rest of the way here. Yeah, if you guys have any multiplayer games that you would recommend, particularly for groups of 3 or 4, we've definitely known to play a lot of Overwatch. We've been playing some Castle Crashers. Apex, you know, we've gone on and off on Apex Legends over the years. I think there's a couple of maps in the pool now that we don't love. I'm not the biggest fan of E-District. This doesn't hit for me like some of the other ones. I think some of the old maps are really good, but let's take a look at our cards first, and we'll come back to that. Let's see. So we've seen Adrenaline Alchemize. I think Phantasmal Killer. Next turn, your attacks deal double damage. Very strong. I think not quite as good as Alchemize or Adrenaline for me. Adrenaline is really in the conversation for one of the best cards in the game, in my opinion. It's really close with 1 or 2 other cards in the Silent pool for top slot there. Alchemize is pretty good, though. Free potion. We can start playing our potions a little more aggressively. We do have an Adrenaline. I have found us to be a little short on energy. I think I'm going to take a second Adrenaline. Hard to argue with that. Let's see. We saw a Runic Pyramid in our first run. At the end of your turn, you no longer discard. Let's see. Upon pickup, transform 3 cards and upgrade them with the Astrolabe. Pretty good. We did not remove anything early on, so this could be something to think about. Philosopher's Stone. Gain energy, but all enemies start with strength. I find this to be a pretty scary downside. There are quite a few enemies that get really dangerous with just that 1 strength. I think when Slay the Spire first came out, This might have even been 2 strength, which is just an insane downside looking back, especially going into floor 2, where there's quite a few enemies that hit more than once. I think we got the unceasing top and some higher cost cards. I'm gonna tough one. I'm between the stone and the astrolabe. I think I'm gonna take the stone. Risky play. We do have a couple of bailouts in our potions there, so we can play with that. Going against a heavy hitting boss. I can't remember the name of the boss off the top. It's been a little while, but I remember this boss has a big attack and that you got to be prepared for. So something we're going to think about as we push forward here. 128 gold. We would have 2 fights before the shop. I don't think we're going to go that way. I don't like. I mentioned this last time, but question marks on floor 2 I think tend to be decent. Yeah, let's head this way. Yeah, Apex is a fantastic game. I think that it's cooled off for us a little bit because sometimes if the map pools and ranked are not maps you enjoy, it's hard to want to log in and play. But I think E-District really jumps out at me as one that we have not loved. There is another one, Broken Moon, I think is fine. It's not my favorite. And I appreciate what they were going for there. There's definitely some kind of more gimmicky things. The rails are much more prevalent in that map compared to some of the old maps. But some of the other kind of more classic maps in that game are just really fun to play. I think World's Edge, they've done a good job keeping that one fresh. And Storm Point, I think, is another pretty good map. They've done a lot of tinkering and like changing of the little areas of interest. So those are the ones we really like to play. I think Kings Canyon's a little bit more divisive amongst our trio in particular, but I like Kings Canyon. I think it's a pretty good map. Neutralize the 3x5 over here and take some of that damage out. Discard your hand and draw that many cards. Tough call. I think I would rather play Acrobatics and see if we get our Sneaky Strike that way. We definitely can get rid of a strike. We're not guaranteed our Sneaky Strike with Calculated Gamble, so I am thinking we're gonna play Dodging. Guys, 2 away going on the ground. Let's knock him to the floor. Probably should have played a block there, but we do have the top. Adrenaline. Keep this thing going. We get our Sneaky Strike. We can take this guy out. Play a defend. We have more energy now. Take this guy out. Free slice. The power of unceasing top on the silent. I'm telling you. Good times. And let's end this fight. A lot of people like to explore, and especially in hero shooters, arena shooters, when there's different characters. Oh, let's see. Have we upgraded dagger spray or where we can apply more weak? Honestly, this might be a skip for me. I'm gonna be honest. I like our deck. I think what we really need is to remove some of these strikes. I'm gonna skip this. I will say before we go, Blade Dance, good card. It got a little buff somewhere along the way. I think it used to be 2 and then upgrade to 3, and now it's 3 upgrade to 4. Yeah. Good card. A lot of synergies there. So something we'll probably take somewhere along our runs. You encounter a group of bandits wearing large red masks. Hello, pay up to pass. A reasonable fee of all of your gold will do. All right, I have a philosophy. There's almost no situation in which I don't fight these guys. I think on the principle of the thing, I don't like to give up all my gold. It's not really about the reward. I'll probably not do that somewhere along the way, but all right, let's play our strike. Bear, okay. This guy, remember, I think he's going to take dexterity away, which is always a painful debuff. Let's see if we can work this guy down a little. Play that. Well, yeah, people like to experiment with different heroes, and I do that a little bit, but I would say both Apex, Overwatch, and maybe some other hero shooters that I've tried over the years. I try to deep dive into a couple of heroes that are maybe a little bit different and try to get good at them. You know, I mentioned I tank like Ryan Zarya in Overwatch, but I'll tell you what, in Apex, there's been almost no situations where I don't play Fuse. I don't know why. Something about Fuse just really funny to me. Maybe it's the mustache. Maybe it's the idea that his entire kit is just blow things up. That really works for me. Let's see. I think we're going to try to take out Pointy. I never noticed his name is Pointy. I'm not sure why. I always think about Bear because of the debuff, but I guess I never thought about Pointy before. The unsung. I'm not going to say hero, but the damage dealer of the muggers here. We can take this guy out. Do this right. Play footwork first. I think we'll go ahead and neutralize the guy who's going to live, even though it does a little less damage. Is there any reason to play this survivor? We would draw another card. That was bad. Don't hold that one against me, guys. Let's dagger throw. Looks like we're fine. No gold for them. We lose no HP. We get the red mask, which at the start of each combat you apply weak to all enemies. Always a nice little defensive relic. Maybe not one of the absolute best, but I think it's pretty good. Have a little decision point here, though. Colorless potion over one of our other potions. Yeah, you hate to hold on to the fairy in a bottle at full HP and potentially never use it. I have a little bit of an internal bias against the speed potion. I think there's cases where it's good. Lose just one turn of peak benefit, though. Not that great to me. One thing to note is if you have Artifact, you can negate the removal of Dexterity, so it's a permanent 5 for that combat. But I think I'd rather have the Colorless Potion. See, Deadly Poison doesn't do much for us now. I think Predator with the card draw is kind of interesting. I think Block not being removed. I think that's very much in the conversation, especially with Footwork and the dodge and roll. Yeah, I think we're going to try Blur. I think Blur is another one that kind of works pretty well later into runs. A lot of ways to make that your engine, if you will. We get our fight with the Avocado. I don't think we saw the Avocado in our first run as the Ironclad. So this is a new fight for us. Always a tricky one. I think the Silent's a little better against the Avocado, though, because there's some ways you can chunk down the plated armor faster and more effectively with a bunch of attacks. So let's get to that. Feels like a acrobatic sneaky strike to me, and then we'll see what adrenaline does after that. I'm going to get rid of the strike. I want to keep our blocks. Sneaky strike. Start chunking down that plated armor. Always good. Little tidbit here, and I'm really curious. This is a challenge I have for the group. If you break all the plated armor on the Avocado, you actually stun the Avocado. I learned that pretty recently after playing this game for maybe years, honestly. You don't get in that situation that often, but it does happen on the Silent from time to time. But yeah, I feel like that's another thing about Slay the Spire I really love is there's just so many little details that, you might not pick up on the first couple times or even the first many times that you play. But maybe if you guys know some of those other weird interactions, maybe you can find one I don't know. I feel like I've probably dug up most of them at this point, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. We have blurs, so we want to play out the block here, even at the cost of our sneaky strike, which is a little disappointing. I think we're still doing all right. We're going to take no damage here. We'll carry over some block, and the Avocado is attacking again, so that's always good. Discard our hand. Let's keep in mind that includes strike. This is not unload. This is calculated gamble. Go ahead and get rid of some more of this plated armor. I'm tempted. We would draw all 4 of these. We would get Footwork. Let's draw 4 of those. So we can play this, take out some plated armor, draw a few more cards. Not losing any sleep over not playing that strike, so think some removal would go a long way in this deck. Dagger Spray paying some dividends here. We can take out 2 more plated armor if we choose to do so. 8 block dodge and roll. Pretty good. Dagger Spray and Dagger Throw. Let's try Dagger Throw first, see what we get. I'm going to get rid of this. And I think if we're going to carry over 5 block, we'll throw out the Dagger Spray here. Not looking like we're going to get rid of all that plated armor and see the stun, but I think we're going to be just fine on this fight. I don't think we're going to take any damage here. We're about to get some free Sneaky Strikes, which is fantastic. Always love to see that. Upgraded Sneaky Strike, you know, might not be such a bad thing. Seems like we're getting some value out of those. All right, we get a couple powers. I think a 3rd Sneaky Strike feels like overkill to me. Good card. I think we've got what we need, though. And not enough ways to scale that damage way up. Let's see. But well-laid plans. At the end of your turn, retain a card. I think this is one of the better powers in the silence pool. And I think Infinite Blades is not that good. Might even say bad. Let's take well-laid plans. Retaining cards so we can play different discard synergies on different turns seems useful to me. We have found the nest. This is one of those the hidden lore underneath Slay the Spire. You get the cultist background story you can kind of piece together, but a long line of hooded figures can be seen entering an unassuming cathedral. Naturally, join the line and are quickly surrounded by cultists. They ignore you as they gleefully chant and wave their weapons around. Murder, 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 caw-caw, caw-caw. Murder, 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 caw-caw, caw-caw. The eye donation box. We can smash and grab, get 99 gold, or we can take the ritual dagger. We lose some HP, but we get a card that permanently scales its damage for every fatality that it commits. I think our deck is lacking a little bit in the damage department. We have full health. That would require us to kind of play around Ritual Dagger a little bit, but we do have card draw, so we have ways to make it more likely to get it in our hand when we need it. Let's take the Ritual Dagger. I think, does that add it to the compendium too? You know, part of me wants to add all the cards to the compendium that we can. Now we have the option to go forward to more question marks, take on this elite. We got 3 campfires in the 4th before the boss, and a shop up here if we want it. Wow, 3 campfires. I didn't see that before. I was actually thinking about going this way. Hate to not fight this elite, though. We could take on this guy, but then no shop. I think that 3 campfires is worth the price of admission. Let's see if I'm right about that. Dagger Spray pretty good here. No discard, though. That's unfortunate. I think well-laid plans is probably playable. Get that out early. Try to get the sentry down. I like to take enemies off the field whenever possible. Taking no damage. I mean, I might as well use the Sneaky Strike, right? Question, do I want to just kill this guy and avoid some days? We could play the Shiv Potion and guarantee it, or we could play the Colorless Potion and take a little bit of a risk. Probably say playing the Shiv Potion here is worth it. Don't love to have all 3 slots filled, especially if we get no value out of the potion, so you might as well try to use at least one and leave a slot available to fill with other potions. And I feel like we haven't seen one in a little bit, so we might be due. And retain a card. I think we retain defend. Retain and defend. Some better ways to do damage than a basic strike. Unload fits the bill on that. Let's see, so we can do 2 defense. We're gonna take a little damage, nothing catastrophic. Keep a strike, no reason not to hang on to a card here. All right, I think we have a chance to get Ritual Dagger to pop here. Let's, we don't quite have the damage we need in our hand, though. Acrobatics. Okay, we still didn't get it. Let's try some Adrenaline. All right, that should do it. Sneaky Strike. Neutralize. And let's pop Ritual Dagger, which should do 3 more damage. If we did get a Speed Potion, so that slot will get refilled. Dash. 13 block, 13 damage. Masterful Stab. Costs 1 more energy each time you lose HP. Deal 12 damage. Yeah, we haven't taken a lot of damage this run. I think it's a little late for Masterful Stab. I think early on this can be a pretty decent card because it's a good source of free damage or, low cost damage. Deadly Poison not even on my radar at this point. I mean, that's just not enough compared to what we're doing. Dash, I don't think a 2-cost dash, for 13 and 13, it's not bad. Not really like leaning into what we're doing. I think on the first floor, dash can be pretty good. I would probably take it, but especially pre-upgraded, but I think we're okay. We can stick in where we're at. Let's upgrade some cards. We have not done enough upgrading. Can increase Ritual Dagger scaling, which is pretty good. More energy from Adrenaline. We do have the top, so that's pretty strong. We are going to get multiple upgrades here. I think, get Ritual Dagger going crazy. See how high we can get Ritual Dagger to go. There's something about it that's just fun, even if it's not the perfect card. All right, let's see. We have Adrenaline. We can pop Sneaky Strike for sure. When I play this fight, I like to strike down the knight first. If you don't, he does start to get a little dangerous. He attacks more frequently and does a lot more damage. So if you're gonna go take out I'll call it the Mystic. I never really noticed the name on her either, but the healer, as I like to call her first. You better be sure you can finish the job. So if you're gonna shoot, you better shoot to kill. Let's start chunking down the knight. 9 damage. I'm gonna ditch footwork. Yeah, I'm gonna ditch footwork. I don't know if that's the right call. I think it's okay. Hang on to the defend. We're gonna get to Adrenaline here. They'll guarantee we block. So let's full block. Let's get that taken care of. I'm gonna go ahead and Dagger Spray and then Well-Laid Plans, and we'll keep Acrobatics so we can always play our Sneak Strike when the time comes. I'll tell you what I did get recently in terms of new games is a Switch 2. And I gotta tell you, I went in a little skeptical. Pretty fun. I'm impressed so far. I think it's good. My policy was I wasn't going to order one. If I found it in the wild. That's the bar. I had to find it at a store in the wild, and my wife and I were out on a little date night, and we stopped in the GameStop. I wonder whose decision that was. But they had them. They had just gotten a shipment in, so I stuck to my word. Got the one that came with Mario Kart. I got Donkey Kong Bonanza with it. Sorry, I'm just thinking about the best way to do this here. Something like that, maybe. Take 2 more cards. Yeah, let's unload. But yeah, so Donkey Kong Bonanza and Mario Kart, definitely both are very good. I think the consensus seems to be that Mario Kart is in the very good tier and DK Bonanza is in the astonishingly great tier. Not sure I totally agree with that. I think that... Can we get Ritual Dagger here? 6, 12, 18, 36. Yeah, we can do it. Yeah. Yeah, I think that Donkey Kong is very good so far. I am very much enjoying it. I have noticed a couple of bugs along the way, some visual bugs popping up. I guess any game where you're kind of just smashing the floor to pieces, that's a risk, I guess. But it is very good. I like it a lot. It is high time that Donkey Kong got a really good solo game. I think Donkey Kong is definitely my favorite Nintendo character, I would say, and happy to see him get the spotlight here. But yeah, the game is very good. But I think Mario Kart is fantastic. I think Mario Kart World is really good. I can see why people, they put it up against Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is an absolutely phenomenal game. It's a masterpiece for sure. I think that 8 Deluxe leans more heavily into a competitive game. It seems like it's a little bit more skill driven in my short time with World so far. And World tends to be, it feels casual to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm going crazy here, but just a more kind of laid back game. I feel like luck plays a little bit of a role in that one. Out drops. Haven't seen this one yet. Whenever you are attacked, deal 3 damage back. That does not help us much against this boss. There are some floor fights if that's okay. I think we're good. I think we can skip that. Yeah, I think World, the one thing I'll say, though, is the new maps they've put out, especially some of the remakes, they're great. I've been really impressed. There's a lot of hits in there for me. I think, in particular, and if you haven't played it yet, I mean, there's no real spoilers in Mario Kart, but, yeah, let's upgrade a Sneaky Strike. Let's do some more damage. But, yeah, if you haven't played it yet, I think, the one that really was memorable for me, I think the Booze Theater map looks fantastic. Potion Belt. On pickup, gain 2 slots. Always nice to have. This gets a lot better in later Ascensions. I can't remember which one, but one of them takes away potion slot. I think it takes it down to 2. So being able to carry more potions in later Ascensions gets really helpful really quickly. We're gonna smith and then fight a boss. Or an elite, I should say. But yeah, that boom map, very good. I think the new Rainbow Road is very interesting. I think the open world concept, a little bit of a novelty, but I'm having a good time with it. You can kind of drive around, do some missions, and I've probably played that more than Donkey Kong so far, to be honest. But I'm sure Donkey Kong has more, replayability. But hey, not gonna play Donkey Kong Bonanza with a bunch of people coming over for game night. Definitely more of a group game in Mario Kart. But yeah, I'm really impressed so far. I think hardware seems good on the Switch too. Definitely seems like a big step up. And I know it's not intended as a PS5 or, Xbox Series whatever power console, but that's okay. It's doing what it does. It's doing what it does well. I always tend to treat the Switch as kind of an auxiliary console. Weird as that sounds, so kind of maybe not doing my primary multiplayer, single-player gaming there, but there's a lot of good games on there that are fun. We're not that close to knocking this guy out, but I'm going to hang on to Ritual Deck. Switch 2 definitely lacking from, new games, like at launch. There's a little light on the game library early on. Yeah, they've got some remakes out there, but get our Sneaky Strike going. Couple games this year, though, coming later on. I'll tell you, if they stick to Kirby Air Riders, that timeline sticks. That's good news in my book. That Kirby Air Ride on the GameCube is just one of the most criminally underrated games of that generation. My brother and I used to play that game all the time, and it looks. I mean, they just did the direct, the Kirby Air Riders direct recently, and I think it's living up to the hype. It looks good to me. I think City Trial looks fun. That's really like, Air Ride is great and all, like that mode, but maybe City Trial is the one that matters. The one thing I did notice, I thought they might go with multiple maps for City Trial, but doesn't look like that's going to be the case. So that's a little interesting. Not necessarily a game breaker. I thought the map that they showed looked great. So not a deal breaker by any stretch. But I'm excited. I think it's going to be fun. Probably focus here and actually think about what we're doing. That'd be a good place to start. Starting to think hanging onto Ritual Dagger at 23 damage, maybe not the best decision I've made today. 16 damage. Might as well throw out a Sneaky Strike. 69. Nobody say it. We're going to hang on to Ritual Dagger again. Alright, Neutralize, definitely good here. No harm in playing a free Slice. I think we go ahead and Acrobatics. Dump a Basic Strike. That might have been getting close to lethal, but I'm not going to do the math. Let's see. You're going to find out pretty quickly that not doing the math is on brand for me, which is maybe alarming as a data analyst kind of guy. I do enough math during the day. A relaxation endeavor. So we've got some wounds in our deck now. It's getting a little scary, but we did carry over a little block. Probably should have played the dexterity, but I think we're going to be fine. On the higher ascensions, I think I would have been punished dearly here. Let's see. Yeah, I think we're looking good. Now, let's not kill him before we can Ritual Dagger. That's the one thing we want to be a little careful of. Go, and Ritual Dagger. All right, this kind of is getting into what I was saying earlier with some of the relics on the Silent. So we get our gold, but whenever you apply poison, you apply an additional poison with the Snecko Skull. So this does not help us basically at all. I guess if we were to get something like a Noxious Fume, it's kind of interesting. Is that worth it? That would be, right now, unupgraded, that would be 3 poison. I think I'm going to try it, just to remind myself if that's any good. But let's press on. We did see the Snake Plant last time. Snake Plant's always a little bit tougher as the Silent. I think the Silent tends to be better against the Avocado, but the Ironclad tends to be a little bit better against the Snake Plant. But we did get 2 Adrenalines and our Ritual Dagger, and not a high health in it. I think with 2 Adrenalines, you play the Well-Laid, play your high energy Adrenaline. We will be able to play Sneaky Strike, so let's do that. We'll ditch the regular Strike. Sneaky Strike. I think we go ahead and pop the other Adrenaline. Let's play as many cards as we can here. I think Neutralize definitely good. Survivor definitely. I think we can ditch a basic defense. Okay. We are going to have to block. That is part of this, isn't it? I think we're going to ditch Dagger Spray. Should have played the footwork first, huh? That's okay. Let's see. 28 damage. We'll throw it out there. We do have the Well-Laid. Let's keep Ritual Dagger again. Keep this growing. This will be kind of our late game damage plan. 4 energy. I think you can play the Noxious Blur. Defend. And we will take no damage, and we'll keep Ritual Dagger. Should have at least a reasonable chance at lethal. Start on. I think this is what we're looking for. Let's see. So this will do more than enough. There you go. Got through the Snake Plant. Minimal damage. Tactician. If this card is discarded from your hand, gain energy. So this is our first unplayable card. There's a couple of these in there. Lucky for us, with our discard cards already in our deck, I think Tactician's pretty takeable. Poison Stab is just way too late for that. And then Predator. Card draw is interesting. I think we have some draw in our deck. Let's take the Tactician. We'll hit another event. So we got some combat out of an event. We were kind of due for that. We got some damage incoming, but we can get some value out of Tactician right out of the gate. Get our energy back. Dodge and roll. We'll get some nice block next turn. And we can actually take out the cultist. So Ritual Dagger is starting to become dangerous for them. They're stuck in here with us. We're not stuck in here with them. Let's see. I think Adrenaline. Easy play. We got plenty of room in our hand. I think Well-Laid is fine. This guy's going to make it so when we play skills and powers, we get dazed, I think. It's been a little while. Something to that effect. I think we blur, and then maybe we try getting 3 new cards. Adrenaline, definitely good. Acrobatics, definitely good. We can ditch a defend. We can slice. We'll play Noxious. We can play out our hand here, basically. And we will get Unceasing Top to pop. Can't play Sneaky Strike, but that's a pretty good turn. Holding on to it is definitely fine. Getting a little value out of Snecko Skull. Not huge in this fight, but it's something. We can get rid of footwork. Not sure that's really huge for us in this particular fight. We don't want to play too many defense. I should have thought about that first. And there's our dazed, but We'll go ahead and let that exhaust itself. We're on a little bit of a roll here in our first 2 runs. I definitely, you know, I thought it would come back to me pretty quickly for non-Ascension mode. But I'm sure this is going to get a lot harder really quickly as we start to move up. I remember Ascension 1 being not too bad. I remember kind of thinking in my head it was kind of a buff, because I think it's just more elites, and in some ways having more elite fights is a good thing. Ooh, here we go. You continue your ascent, and there's the Council of Ghosts. Thick black smoke begins to build out of the ground and walls around you, coalescing into 3 masked forms that start to speak. And this is the same event that we saw as the Ironclad, where we did not take it. Half of our max HP for 5 apparitions. Now, that gets a little hairy. 50% of your max HP is a lot. And Silent, you have no way to get it back. We're going against a heavy-hitting boss here. I know I said we would take this again in the future. I think I'm going to wait for a time where we have some more ways to mitigate the downside. I know 5 apparition is probably, this is probably one of the stronger events, but I'm going to pass until I get a little more familiar with how the game works again. I think with Fairy in a Bottle, we're going to go ahead and Smith. Let's see. Extra poison. That would be 4 poison. That's pretty good. An extra calculated gamble is not bad. The more I think about it, I know I snap picked this calculated gamble. This is probably a bad choice. In hindsight, I think 2 calculated gambles is probably 1 too many. Good card, but you know, drawing 2 of them doesn't really do much for you. 2 cards. I think I'm gonna try the Noxious. I know there's like some minions in this next fight, so maybe you can start to chunk those guys down a little bit faster. All right, so we got rid of one of his artifact, and that is where the Noxious will come in handy. If we can get something. All right, we did not get really what we were looking for there. We definitely don't need the block. Yeah, we don't need the block. All right, so we didn't get much of what we wanted there. You know, your first turn, you kind of want your powers when you can get them. There we go. That's more like it. Didn't get a lot of block. This might be a power potion kind of fight, but let's see. We do have 22 block from last turn, so that's always good. I'm going to play the power potion. The reason I do that before attacking, you know, we might get something like 1,000 cuts. And I think, speaking of 1,000 cuts, let's try it. I think with 2 other enemies on the field, you know, we can really start to do some extra damage here. I actually don't think 1,000 cuts is like that great of a card. You know, it's not going to exhaust, might as well play it. Kind of wish I could have that one back. But, you know, when you get it for free, then 1,000 cuts is a much better card. It's we lost both adrenalines there. So I think these guys always take your highest rarity cards, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I should have left 1,000 cuts in the deck, but it probably would have been in the discard pile, which I don't think they can take from there. Now, Ritual Dagger has to kill a non-minion enemy, so I'm glad I read that. Dagger Spray, not bad here. This is the downside of Tactician, by the way. We now have it in our hand and we can't do anything with it. We play one more card. I think we go ahead and kill both these. I think that does it. Yeah, 4 poison. Yeah, so we did this. We did get our adrenaline back, so we can kind of get the snowball rolling here. Now, this guy's going to die anyway, so let's hit that guy. Okay. We did not play our well-laid plans yet, so we can't hold on to anything. We do have Sneaky Strike with Calculator. That doesn't help us at all, does it? So let's Adrenaline, see if we get some discard. We did get some discard. Let's Sneaky Strike 2 times. Pretty good. And we can retain here. Now, the question is, do we want to retain? I think we can exhaust and then take our chances with another card. That's fine. Now we're going to just burn down our energy. Blur's great. Neutralize will work now. We got all that artifact out. We're going to discard and draw. Get another defend. And now we can keep the strike. Not that great, but I think he's getting ready to charge up the big attack. If I remember correctly, the higher Ascension, it's like 60-something damage, which is a lot. It would be great if we could get our blur back around here. No matter what happens, a fairy in a bottle, you'll get 30% back. It's not like it doesn't overkill you, so like it wouldn't do 60 plus another 30 after we die here. We would get that 30% HP either way. So basically, if you hit lethal. I'm going to unload and then calculated gamble. Well, we can't do that. Bad play. But we can play out our strikes. Maybe a little bit of a misplay there. Let's see if this will be the time we get punished for it. 52. We do have the tactician, so that will make acrobatics free. Okay. Dodge and roll. We'll get some block here. I don't think we're in a situation where 52 is going to be enough to lethal us. We'll calculate a gamble this time, though. Yeah, getting up to 25 block is pretty good. And we are getting the poison to start rolling here. And I think he's going to be stunned. He is stunned for a turn. No reason not to play neutralize. Don't really need the block here. We do have blur, so I guess I could have stacked it a little bit. But I think we're at the point where we just start to roll this guy as quickly as we can. And we're going to carry over 15 block. Always good. Sneaky strike, retaining. 55. I'm thinking we have a pretty good shot to win this. So if we discard all of our non-attack, we would get a tactician to pop. I think we do that. And we got him. We'll just keep playing cards. There you go. The automaton. We defeated the bronze automaton. Get our gold. Is 3 adrenalines too many? I do hesitate to take another adrenaline. There is a boss that punishes playing a lot of cards on the 3rd floor. We're definitely getting into that territory. Some more block might be the way. I think After Image could work for us. Let's take a look at our deck. We do have a lot of draw, the adrenalines, a lot of ways to play cards. I don't think we're hurting for adrenaline in our deck. Let's get some block. Couple of new ones here. I'm going to tell you out of the gate, not some of my favorites here, though. The Runic Dome. Gain energy at the start of your turn, but you can no longer see enemy intent. That is a brutal downside for me. I know it's intended as a test of your knowledge of the game. Maybe I'm just missing some knowledge of the game, to be honest with you. Not one I tend to take. I'm not going to say I've never taken. I think in times where I'm desperate for energy, I will, but I just don't find this one that fun. One of the few relics in the game that I'd say I avoid for the fun factor. Velvet Choker. Gain energy at the start of your turn, but you cannot play more than 6 cards per turn. I think this is more takeable in most situations than the Runic Dome. However, Silent probably works the worst with Velvet Choker. Silent wants to play a lot of cards. This can be great if you have a deck with very expensive cards. I think the Ironclad works better with the Velvet Choker in general. But the Wrist Blade, which is a silent specific relic, attacks that cost 0 deal additional damage. That's pretty good. Obviously, obvious synergies with Shiv decks, which is not one we're really working towards right now. That said, it's pretty garbage with our current deck, too. Slice might be the only synergy. I'm trying to think if there's any other. I guess neutralize, but there's no other way that we get to 0 here. I think for good players, Runic Dome is probably the pick here, but I'm going to take a Wrist Blade just for lack of wanting to deal with it. Did I see the time meter? No, that's Donu Deka. I remember Donu Deka. Of the 3 bosses you face in the 3rd act, I think Donu Deka tends to be, I'm going to say, the easiest of the 3, but if you don't take care of them quickly, it does get out of hand in a hurry. 377 gold. We got to hit a shop. That's not negotiable here. And this path looks like it's going to do that for us. You've got an elite. Just want to make sure there's no obvious pitfalls along the way here. I know there's a couple of mods out there that allow you to kind of highlight pathing and look for certain things. I know This is one thing I learned on the console late in the game, but in the console even, you can go over to the legend and highlight elements on the map. We're going to start here. All right. No exploders here. I know sometimes there's these little guys that explode for 30 damage if you don't kill them fast enough, but with no attack damage coming in, let's get our powers out quick. Play all of them. Why not? See, one more. We could calculate a gamble and go for an adrenaline. I did not do a good job removing cards in this run. Something we're going to have to do a better job of in the future. Yeah, I think we'll take our free block and we'll call it there. We can retain calculated gamble. Calculated gamble or acrobatics? I might be wrong. Probably more of a risk-reward situation. Okay. So we are starting to apply some poison. Reason I care about the poison here is the spiker can get tricky if you don't have a non-attack way to deal with him. So we'll get the benefit of Wrist Blade there. I'm not going to play Dagger Spray because I don't want to take... I think you do take 10 damage in this case, so you can hit him twice. Now, that said, now that we have some block... I'm going to get rid of the Dazed. Let's see. Looking just fine. Go to our block and see if we can find ways to do some more damage to the spiker. There's taking 7 per hit. We can throw that. We can get rid of that. Let's see. We'll hang on to calculated gamble. If we don't get a good draw here, we'll just redraw. Ooh, Ritual Dagger is definitely... We take some damage for Ritual Dagger. Yes. I want to be able to do big damage to Donu Deka when we get there. Piercing Wail is one of those cards. Pre-upgraded. Even at a 31 card deck, I think this is a must-take. Distraction, add a random skill into your hand, cost 0 this turn, then we're back to our old favorite Outmaneuver. I'll try to take Outmaneuver somewhere along the way in our last ride run, but for now, let's focus on winning. I think Piercing Wail for a common card is insanely good. Probably, I can't even think of a common card that's better than this. I'm going to take that. Let's see. Fossilized Helix. First time you lose HP, very good. Whenever you play 10 cards, draw a card, also good. Additional copy of a card, also good. I think, let's remove first. Let's start building some better habits. I think strikes basically do nothing for us, so let's take out a strike. I think block has some niche. Even the regular defense do some things for us. We could buy several potions here too. That's on the table. Fossilized Helix is a really great relic. Saving your HP, just very very helpful in so many situations. I think card draw is also good for us, and there's no downside in this case because we are not going up against the Time Eater. I think we're going to take the Helix. It's a pretty strong relic. I would not say we are stacked on great relics here. I think we have some very good relics. I think Unceasing Top and Fossilized Helix are both very good. Philosopher's Stone is debatable. Wow. Jeez. I'm going to read it. I did not read the whole thing last time, I don't think. So let's just do a read. Secret Portal. Before you is a sight that seems out of place in the alien landscape around you. Strangely placed into one of the living walls of the beyond is an enclosed stone entrance filled with a swirling magical portal. You aren't sure where it leads, but maybe it could speed your journey through the spire. Enter the portal, which means you immediately travel to the boss. This is not as convincing of a win in my mind as the Ironclad run was. I thought the Ironclad, there was like no shot we were going to lose. We do have Fossilized Helix, and we have the Fairy in a Bottle. We spent all of our gold. I mean, there's not much we're looking for here that's going to make us way better. think for the memes, you have to do it. I mean, how many chances you get to do this twice in a row? I think we'll go for it. See if we can win 2 shortened runs. Jumping through the portal, your sense of time and space is completely torn apart. As you reorient yourself to the new surroundings, you realize that right before you is a fearsome battle, which is the dynamic duo of Donu Deka. So 250 health each. We do have a high damage ritual dagger in hand. I will say, I think you can well-laid plans here. Maybe play Slice, which just because it's 0, and then calculate a gamble and try to get some of our higher damage cards. Or maybe some better defense, now that I'm looking at it. Let's drop that. Let's slice Donu. I fight Donu first. I think, you know, letting the... hopefully I'm not mixing these two up. I think Deka gives them block, and Donu gives them strength, and we already have Philosopher's Stone, so even more strength on top of that to me is not a palatable way forward. Interesting. It's unfortunate. Can we save the fossilized helix? It's the 8. 5. Piercing Whale is going to do nothing because they have the artifact. We could strip the artifact. So this would be 5. Let's see, 13 plus 10. We could think you full block and save it if you can. You know, Tactician doesn't really do much for us here, but the question is, do we want to get the artifact off? I think the answer is no. I think we save this. Try to draw Noxious to strip the artifact, or maybe a nice neutralize would hit the spot in that case, and we can try to time it where if we're getting it hit for a big turn, we can piercing whale our way mostly out of it. Yeah, I like that. This might get a little close. I'm not sure that we're going to win this one. We do have adrenaline, so we can start to get a little crazy with that. All right, footwork is good here. So we are going to lose fossilized. Did we lose? No, we still haven't. For some reason, I thought it stayed green until you used it, but I guess you just get a buffer. I mean, I think you really don't have a lot of options here. We'll just start knocking Donu down as best we can. We'll keep the piercing whale. After image could be good. That might help us. All right, so no damage there. So that's good. All right, I think we got to try it. I think we're going to go ahead and piercing whale here. I think we're going to do it. All right, let's see what happens. It's maybe we're not going to do it. I'm not sure. 14 would be 24. We'd take a little damage. I think that's okay. I cannot full block this. I could. I'm going to do it. Maybe not advisable. I think with after image you can risk it a little bit. All right, this is where it starts to get a little scary. Draw. I'm not gonna discard days. I'm gonna let those exhaust. All right, let's keep working Donu down. You hate to discard the dazed. Ugh. I'm going to let them exhaust, and we'll keep unload. We still have the fairy in a bottle, so it's definitely not over by any stretch. You gotta play your defense. We're not going to get to play Sneaky Strike, and we will keep it dazed. I don't know. This one's not looking so good. Maybe I'm going to lose earlier than I thought. I'm not as good as I thought, guys. That's really disappointing. We'll see. Not over yet. Let's okay. Starting to roll a little bit here. I think you got to do it. You got to keep the dream alive. And neutralize. So we should neutralize Deca because they're going to attack next. Tactician does nothing for us. But we will keep it and maybe discard it next turn. We just don't really have the damage in this run. It's a little bit unfortunate. We don't have a discard. Ugh, that's brutal. I think all you can do is play as many cards as you can. And hit Donu pretty hard there. Now, do we keep Sneaky Strike or Tactician? I'm going to keep Sneaky Strike and keep hope alive that we can knock out Donu. Okay. We're going to lose Fairy in a Bottle here. Let those go away. Oh, it's going to be close. I think it's not looking so good. I think that's a GG. Wow. I did not expect to lose so early in the playthroughs. Maybe that portal wasn't such a wise choice. Well, that's okay. The streak was fun while it lasted. We're going to have to start from 0 for the silent again. Our consciousness fades. Is it just me or is the texting a little off here too? Now, I'm going to hold on a second because this is what I was talking about last time. It's experience-based. So we did get some score here and we unlocked something. Let's see what we got. So it gave us 3 cards anyway. So Bane, Catalyst, and Corpse Explosion. Some very good cards in the mix there. Corpse Explosion is just... We'll talk about it next time, but that's an insanely great card. But, hey, thanks for watching. Appreciate you all very much. And hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, hit like and subscribe. And until next time, I'll catch you later. Thanks.